In this chapter, I'm really focusing on trying to help you think about ways to establish more dialogue or two-way communication within your church community and also with the community at large. Now, I'm going to show you an example using this tool, Pinterest, and in other videos, I'll show you some other examples using a fairly new app called Vine. But I want to take a minute just to make sure that I underscore the point that to me, it's really not about the technology that's being used here. That really is kind of beside the point. You can likely think of ways to do some of these same types of things without using technology, and I would encourage you to do that. However, if I look at something like Pinterest, for example, I would wager that you have people in your congregation who are already actively using Pinterest. Some of your younger folks are probably starting to use apps like Vine. And so, if part of the mindset of your ministry is to meet people where they are in their journey, then I would advocate thinking about how can you use these things that they are already using to engage them more fully in the ministry and frankly empower them to really help enable the ministry to grow. And that really is the point that I'm trying to make here. So let me show you an example using something like Pinterest. At the church that I attend, our worship service had the sermon focus on some passages from Luke that in part talked about failure and our response to failure. And the bottom line was, you can either let the failure frankly defeat you, or you can really kind of dust yourself off and get back up and try again. And that was really part of the point of that particular lesson. And so let's imagine that you've preached a sermon on something along those lines. One of the things you might want to do is have people use a tool like Pinterest to give them another way to think about and ponder the various thoughts and reactions they have to the sermon. So in Pinterest, you can create boards, and you can either have a public board. I've got a couple of them here. Or if I scroll down, you could also have what are called secret boards where you can really control who is able to see them. Now, depending on your intent, you might want to make your boards, public or private, essentially. I'm going to make this one a public board. So let me just click on create the board, and I'm going to call this, again, our example is getting people to reflect on failure and our response to failure. So I'm going to call it Reflections on Failure is the name of the board. And let's say use this board to post your own reflections. Failure are responses to failure. There we go. I'm going to give it a category. Now, unfortunately, none of these really fit very well, so I'm just going to choose Other. And here is where I would signify whether or not this was secret or not. It's not, so I'm going to click to save those changes. It is now creating my board, and here it is. Now, you could share this out with the members of your congregation via email or post it perhaps on your Facebook page for your church, and then let them add to it. So for example, just to kind of get the conversation started, as I was looking around and thinking about the sermon today, I found this kind of interesting graphic that's got this quote from Thomas Edison. And Thomas Edison, I think, really embodies in a lot of ways, to me anyway, one of the points of the sermon today, which is that Thomas Edison failed a lot of times before he finally succeeded in inventing so many of the things that we take for granted today. And so his response to failure, I think, is what the scripture that we looked at really was trying to get at. So I'm going to take this and I want to put this on my Pinterest board. So I've got already installed on my browser this pin it button. When you're in Pinterest, it shows you how to do this. So I've got this. I want to click on Pin It, and it's captured that for me. And I'll click on Pin It, and I want to put this on my Reflections on Failure board. There is the link to this graphic, so I'll leave that alone for now, and I'll just click Pin It. And there you go. So now let me go ahead, and there it is. Now at this point, what I might want to do is I might want to edit this, or if I want to, I could send this to people, or I could share this again on Facebook or Twitter. So the idea is, again, just giving people a way to kind of virtually talk about and engage in dialogue on, this could be, again, responses to a sermon. Maybe your church is thinking about engaging in some new ministry outreach. There are lots of ways I think that you could use this. Maybe you're looking for ideas for your upcoming holiday services. There are lots of ways I think you can engage your church to use Pinterest boards to have virtual conversations in addition to the one-on-one conversations that you have in person when people are actually physically at your church. I hope that this inspires you and that you will use these kind of tools to enhance the dialogue and the two-way communication going on within your own faith community.